something that, I am doing something, you are asking for evidence. When the evidence is standing in front of you, and all of that, it's a lie, there's nothing you can do. So, we ask people, what's the evidence for this? Identify innovation. Another poet said, عرفت الشر لا للشر لكن تواقيه ومن لم يعرف الخير من الشر يقع فيه. I learned about evil, not because I wanted to do it, but because whoever cannot demarcate, cannot separate evil from good, might likely fall into evil. So identify innovation, attending lectures like this where we discuss what innovations are. Number 2, understanding the way of the pious predecessors, the way the companions did their act of worship, and then the final one, we pray that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from all innovations. So inshallah I will pause here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a firm understanding of the deen and make our discourse make it beneficial for us in this world and the hereafter. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum
assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As usual, we have enjoyed our Ustaz, and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla to keep him for us, to increase him in knowledge, and continue to make him a useful tool in the propagation of Islam. So, we'll go to the question. The number 1, can we regard division of sujood sawi, to complete and Bidia as innovation?
That's number 1. Number 2, our sister now wear hijabs with arms and rich arms. Please help explain and persuade them with the saying, I don't know what this means, or my own English has not gone to this level. How do you know? Okay. The lecturer understand it. Please, is recitation as Masurat innovation? If someone decides to recite one juzu of the Quran every day to be able to complete the whole Quran per month, is this an innovation?
I want to know if it's a Bidia for a Muslim when you are holding the faith. So you couldn't stand up to perform ablution, but you need to connect with your creator. Then you decided on your bed to be doing a car or recite some of the memory verse. Why on the bed they remain if it's Bidia. Also, this idea, the Sijaniya Torika of a thing that people do, I want to know if it's a Bidia, and that one in connection with Adkar that we do in general, the normal Salatu, because Salatul Fati has been condemned, the normal Salatul Ibrahim that we do for Prophet, that you do within the family, and we do at Usrah level. I want to know if it's truly Bidia.
Okay.
Salam alaikum. One always receive some text that will tell you that the message was reviewed in Mecca and that you should send to so many number of people. And if you send, some good things will happen to you. But if you don't send, bad things will be happening to you. Is it normal? Must we be following that? Must we send the message to so many people, or we should ignore it?
Okay, thank you. Next person.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah for the lecture. You may just be one person in the family that say, okay, I want to shun Bidia. I don't want to follow all this innovation, and other members of the family or community won't indulge in things that you normally would want to shun. I just want you to counsel to be that was that you can be different in a positive way and not feel otherwise when others are following the Bidia aspects. Just a counsel, really. Thank you.
Next person, male.
Is it Bidia to cause recitation of the Quran? Okay. Especially when you want to do dua.
Next person.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. My question is, these people putting white cloth in the mosque and they will not allow them to, is it Bidia and they must do it? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. My question is, can advice be taken from an Ustaz who is seen to be involved in Bidia, especially at a time whereby he starts answering the question by saying, my Ustaz, or our Ustaz will say, or will do this?
Okay. Please, before the next, you didn't get the question. Can you repeat it?
I said, can an advice be taken from an Ustaz who is seen to be involved in Bidia, especially in an instance whereby he starts answering the question by saying, my Ustaz will do, or our Ustaz will say this, or do that?
Assalamu alaikum. Can someone call the As-Salatu around to 6? Because it happened to me.
Okay, so how do I remember?
As-Salatu khayrun minan nawm. Can someone call it around to 6?
Next person.
Assalamu alaikum.
Please, in view of the established faulty, quote and unquote, and the extreme doctrine of the Shiite, can we consider them Muslims, or in other words, can we declare them non-Muslim?
Next person.
My question is, alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair to the organizers and the lecturer. My question is, having known some of these Bidia innovations, acts of innovations, what should be our position as a community towards assisting one another in doing that which is right? Assalamu alaikum.
Next person.
That which Wilimot is Bidia, especially Wilimot Quran. Which type of Wilimot is Bidia, especially Wilimot Quran?
Okay, mine is just an instance. It doesn't have to do with Bidia. My question is, there is this family who the wife moved out of the house on her own volition, and then she decided to come back to meet her husband after we spoke with her. And then the wali, the elder brother who stood as the wali on the wedding day, said that she's not going to come back and that she has to use 6 months in his house before. So we went to meet him, and then the first question he asked me was that who is my scholar, what are the books I read, and we answered him, and then he said that, well, whatever we have said, it's our own business. But my question now is that we forced the girl to come back. She came back to her husband's house, and now the relatives have disowned her. In that instance, what is your advice to the girl and also to the husband? Because the husband has said he's going to disallow her from going back to the family, and the family have also disowned her and said, so my question is, what is your advice to them?
In the course of lecture, the one that I met, I heard that Bidia is an act that cannot be proved either in Quran nor the Sunnah of Rasulullah. If you go by development and compilation of Quran, from my research, it went through 4 stages to have it in standard Arabic form like this, which was not in existence during the life of Rasulullah. And I went through the hadith that's available in my library, and I discovered that Rasulullah did not command anybody to compile Quran in a book form. The last stage, which came around 808 CE, when there was a confusion in the recitation of Quran as far as Araka is concerned, because I read that during the Uthmanic edition was written without tashkil or nuqa. What meant by tashkil is the vowel, Fatiha, Kesra, Duma. And nuqa is Tanween, Shadda and everything. Because of this, there was a confusion. And this confusion was corrected, to cut the story short, by Assad, who was the governor of Iraq at Basra by that time, who employed the service of Haswat, who happened to be Arabic grammarian, to develop the thing. And at the end of the day, he did it. The question now I want to ask is this. That one, isn't that Bidia? Right, sir. And if it is Bidia, is that Quran very authentic? Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. There was a time we were trying to talk about Bidia with somebody, and the moment we try to tell the person about the evidence, that if you don't have the evidence from the Quran and the Hadith, that whatever that thing is a Bidia, rightly there, the person now said, even the Quran that we are talking about, that the compilation of the Quran itself, it's an innovation because it was done after the Prophet had left. So please, I want the lecturer to please shed light on.
There are a lot of questions here. May Allah make it easy for us to be able to answer them. So let me take them as they come. Number one, Qabli and Ba'di, are they innovations? Now, I tried as much as possible as I started to explain certain things about defining bid'ah. But there is a section I left behind. The last two questions that were asked will now make me go back to that section. Now, Qabli and Ba'di, are they bid'ah? Of course not. Qabli means the two sujood you do if you have a shortcoming in your salah. Then before you make the taslim, you do two sujood, then to correct that error. And Ba'di means the two sujood you do after you've added something to your salah to correct the salah. The name Qabli comes from the Arabic word Qabla, which means before. So they gave that name, the two sujood that we do before the taslim, they called it Qabli, that which is done before. Are you following? So is the name itself an act of worship? Of course not. Are you following? So there is no talk of bid'ah when it comes to Qabli or Ba'di. The Prophet himself actually did these things. Are you following? And instructed, okay, if you do this, then you can do this. If you do this, then you can do this. So it's not bid'ah. Number two, hijab with humps. I got it straight as Baya said it, because it's a hadith, in a hadith, Prophet said, I've not seen two classes of people, and they are inhabitants of the fire. So he mentioned Qurun, fi aydihim asiyat. They have whips in their hand, beating the people, despot and tyrants in Islamic world. Then he said, the other class of people are women who will be clothed, yet they are naked. The hairstyle they would have will be like the humps on the back of camels. Are we getting it? So somebody saying that now we have people who wear hijab with humps. It's not the hijab, it's the hairstyle. Is it permissible for sisters to have hairstyles that will look like the humps of camels? Are you following? Yeah, on this, I know I've briefly looked at it, but I can't say categorically if it's haram or halal. I will probably need to look further into this. Because ordinarily, the Prophet was talking about a set of characteristics. Are you following? And if that set is not found in that person, you cannot apply the same rule. So I will need more than just the person doing the hump for me to conclude that it's impermissible. So I'm sorry if I can't answer that. Is al-mathurat, is the recitation of al-mathurat bid'ah? Now, these are sensitive questions. We know that there are people who read the al-mathurat as an act of worship in the mornings and in the evenings. So what is the history behind al-mathurat? The name in itself indicates that it's a compilation of things traceable to the Prophet. For traceable to the Prophet. It was compiled by Hassan al-Banna, leader of the Ikhwan Muslimin in Egypt, because as the Ikhwan was spreading, they were also assimilating people who came from a Sufi background. And the Sufis were used to lazim ya or lazim ya. So what is the alternative we can give to them that would be in line with the Sunnah? Hence it compiled al-Ma'thurat. The intention is good, but there is no perfect job. So in al-Ma'thurat, there are some adhkar that do not have sound backing. Are you following? So this adhkar that do not have sound backing should be removed. The evidence for them are weak. Hence those ones should be removed, and the one traceable to the Prophet ﷺ should be the one that are our al-Ma'thurat. One juz of the Quran per day. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong. In fact, it is highly encouraged. The Prophet ﷺ said explicitly, finish the Quran once in every month. And the person who was addressing said, I have more energy for that. And Prophet ﷺ at last said, okay, do not finish the Quran in less than how many days? 3 days. So if you ask somebody who can finish the Quran in 3 days, it's even in line with the Sunnah. So reading one juz per day is not a bid'ah. It is actually highly encouraged. Doing adhkar on bed, it is encouraged. The Messenger of Allah said, make sure that your tongue is always wet with the remembrance of Allah. La yazalu lisanuka utban min dhikrillah. But we would ask, what is the adhkar you are chanting? If it's an adhkar that is established, then the Sunnah. We have, so the man who compiled Citadel, Fortress, if you meet him, for everything he does, there's an adhkar. He is not the same thing with Sheikh Ibaz. Even if he's talking to you, if there's any lull, any pause, you do adhkar. La ilaha illa wahdahu la sharika lahu al-mulku wa lahu al-hamdu wa ala kulli shay'in qadir. There is only adhkar. We do it as much as possible. Restricting it to a particular one or giving numbers that has not been revealed by Allah and His Messenger are those things that make the adhkar impermissible. So he says, you must do la ilaha illallah 1,001,091. So I would say la ilaha illallah is a good adhkar, but what is the evidence for 1,001,191? Are we following? So that's what I will ask the evidence for. So somebody says, do this adhkar, I will ask, what is the evidence? Do this adhkar this number of times, I will remove the number of times because ma anzala biha min sultan. You have to back it up with the evidence. Are we following? So doing adhkar is highly encouraged. Tijaniya adhkar. You can look at Tijaniya from two angles. You can condemn the Tijaniya in its totality, that is an innovation, and yes, they have serious innovations. If you read some of the books, this adhkar is a list of what you can talk about. There are dangerous ideas floating among some people who ascribe themselves to Tijaniya. People who believe that if you do your adhkar so much, you can become one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have them in Tijaniya. They believe of wahdatul wujud. People will tell you that this thing is Allah. The Bible is Allah. Why? Because everything has the power of Allah. These beliefs are serious. That is one way of looking at it. And you can look at the Tijaniya from an angle of, okay, those things they are doing that have the evidence should be assimilated. And those things that do not have an evidence should be rejected. Among those things that have an evidence is the adhkar. Adhkar in the morning, adhkar in the evening. They call it lazim or lazim yirole. So when I took the Tijaniya hand, I was told that, look, this thing is compulsory. No, that is wrong. It's not compulsory. It is sunnah. This thing, adhkar to be done after Subhi, is established by the Quran and the Sunnah. Are you following? Doing adhkar after Asr is established by the Quran and the Sunnah. But the content of what they do and the way they do it is what we will reject. So we reject Salatul Fatih and we do Salatul Ibrahimiyya. We reject the Lazim Yara, then we do the one that is established in the Sunnah. And we have Adhkarul Masa wa Sabah, or Adhkarul Sabah wa Masa. So we reject all these beliefs that goes against the Quran and the Sunnah. So also, some of the dua, I have a book, a very small one written by the Tijaniya. Some of these dua, then you say that, okay, you must do it with this amount of times, this amount of number. As I said earlier, in as much as these numbers have no backing in the Sunnah, they are to be rejected. So this is the way we deal with issues of Adhkar and the Tijaniya sect. May Allah guide us all. Those who receive messages from Makkah on Facebook as text messages, please, we should reject it. We should not even consider it as anything. These things have been going on for ages. And scholars have condemned and condemned and condemned, but it's still going around. So we should not believe in any calamity they say will happen to us. Neither should we believe in any benefit they say we would have. Adhkar in congregation. Since this was raised, and I have no choice but to respond to it. What do we mean by adhkar in congregation? If I'm saying, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, people are saying after me, to teach people that thing, there's nothing wrong. Are you following? It's because min babi talim. That was how, Prophet told people, dua istikhara. Say, kama yu'allimuna al-Qur'an. How you should teach them. That is, it tells them to say this, and they say there's nothing wrong. But if you are doing it as an act of worship, it's an innovation. And then this also is very strange. When I started the lecture, I said there were things people told me it was bid'ah that I never accepted until several years later. When I was in school, we used to read Surah Al-Mulk. We read Al-Mafurat, Surah Al-Mulk. We used to read the entire Quran. Later somebody said it should be Surah Al-Mulk. And then you have others saying that this thing is a bid'ah. But they couldn't bring convincing evidences. Save is a bid'ah. So, but later, as we continued reading on and reading on, the issue is this. Number one, at the time of the Prophet, alayhi salam, this was the Prophet that said, there is nothing that will bring you to Al-Jannah and take you far from the hellfire, except that I've taught you. So we do not find this type of this method of dua at the time of the Prophet. It's not found at the time of Abu Bakr, not found at the time of Umar, Uthman, Ali, and so on and so forth. In addition, we found the condemnation of such. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud met people in a mosque who were sitting in a circle, and he said, the man would say, people, they had rocks that they were counting. And he said, what are you doing? And he said, we are only trying to glorify Allah and to chant his blessings and things like that. And he said, no, it is better for you to count your sins than do this. And he chased them out of the mosque. So we found even a condemnation rather than evidences backing it up. But because of the nature of this adhkar, a lot of brothers came up with evidences. Now look, what are you talking about? And not those brothers. We had scholars like Al-Imam As-Suyuti in his book Al-Hawi fil Fatawa, who brought evidences to back this up. Number one, he said, and I think Sheikh Alam also did the same, in, I forgot the name of the book, Ad-Dawah to Allah, something like that. The evidence was that there are general texts of the Quran and the Sunnah that Allah, take for example, وَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا, as in the Quran, وَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا, as in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, لَعَلَكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. And we have general evidence like that. So look, even if you can't find specific evidence, we have general evidences. And then look, Allah has angels that go around on the earth, and then they meet people. The text says, يُسَبِّحُونَ اللَّهِ, in the plural form. وَيُمَجِّدُونَهُ, plural form. Now look, these are evidences of a general nature. Yeah. And then you ask the question, and they try to bring these evidences. And then when issues come to this level, what we need to do is to critically assess the evidences laid down by both parties and take the one that convinces us the most. These general evidences they've cited has one singular problem, which is something I will come back to when I address the question of the compilation of the Quran, inshallah. Somebody who is living in a family and says that they are engrossed in bid'ah, what is the advice? The advice is that practice Islam qualitatively. There are people, when they start having an understanding of this bid'ah, that is bid'ah, they believe they cannot do anything in their house again. They stop being productive, and at times very rude, especially with their sons or daughters. Now what you just need to do is just make sure Islam is qualitative. What do I mean? It's either qualitative in the sense that it reflects in the way we relate with people, or qualitative in the sense that people see that this boy is just increasing in knowledge. I share an experience. There is no parent that would actually like their son to go to school and come back with beards and trousers above the ankles. The time of, at times, when I tell them, child, why are you having beard? The brother just said that they taught us in the MSS in school. What did the MSS say? What's the evidence? You have to come to the MSS Usrah. We are not going to any Usrah. You will show us the evidence. But at times, really for me, I was someone that I love reading novels, especially science fiction. So over time, my books in English I started accumulating Arabic books. So much so it was taking considerable space in the house. And the books they were just accumulating and accumulating. So at the point, just seeing one of my parents say, Kabir, say yes. Somebody said something. But is it correct? The day a parent asks the son that what is the Islamic view on this issue, that is the day the parent has submitted that yes, this boy knows more than I know. So if Islam is not qualitative, the person does not know anything. Or it does not reflect in the character. I've heard of a case of a sister whose father was a Christian. And the sister was wearing the full hijab. But the sister was so good to the father that when she was if she misses the time for Salah, the father will wake her that it's time to go and pray. When she was about to marry, the father was the one advising her, you marry somebody who will be like you so that you will not have problems. That is what character does. I've seen a brother who says that his uncles, they hate the sunnah. But there is no way they can antagonize him. Because when he wakes up in the morning, they clean their shoes, does everything. When they want to attack, see, the only thing about you is that you are just too good. And they will realize that this was a boy that had a very bad character in some time past. I discussed with brother and he said, it was neighbors that came to meet his mother and said, look, your son has joined Tabligh, it's Tabligh. But the woman realized, she knew the type of child she had before the boy joined the so-called Tabligh. The woman said, I am even going to give him his brother. He should go and turn his brother also to Tabligh. Because this Tabligh is doing, I am enjoying it. So if a person's Islam is not qualitative, and Islam decides to be, it is not easy for a child goes to school and just comes back home and then starts wearing something. The parents will be shocked. Like, where did you get this one? But if they see that the Islam of that child is qualitative, they will come to agree with that child at the end of the day. This is something that has been tested and then found so. Even for stubborn parents, if your character is good, you not only buy their art, you buy everything. And at times they will start consulting you on issues that, in fact, they'll be reporting people to you that, the place I went to this, they said some terrible things. And yeah, what are the terrible things? And they start telling you. So you realize that, okay, they have also started picking up the sunnah gradually. So my advice is that let us make our Islam qualitative. Either by the acquisition of more knowledge or by the acquisition of sound and good character. You see, I talked about prostrating earlier. If you look at what Islam has laid down as respect for our parents, it is far beyond prostrating, and we cannot do it. The Prophet said, وَإِنْ أَمَرَاكَ as Naito Imam Bukhari in his Adab al-Mufrad, وَإِنْ أَمَرَاكَ أَنْ تَخْرُجَ لَهُمْ مِنْ دُنْيَاكَ فَخْرُجْ لَهُمَا. If your parents command you to leave your world, leave the world for them. So the respect Islam has laid down for parents is far beyond prostrating, that does not even show respect. So Islam says you don't talk before they talk, you don't precede them when you are walking, you do other things for them. So if you do those things, they will even forget prostration and then kneeling down. Allah. Okay, white cloth of Tijaniya. These are some of the excesses of the Tijaniya. When you ask them, why do you spread the white cloth? They say, no, we have to spread the white cloth because we have august visitors. The Prophet is sitting with us, Abu Bakr is sitting with us. It means the Prophet is jobless. If you have to sit down at every white cloth that is laid down on the ground, not only in Nigeria alone, but in Tunis, in Egypt, he has to sit down. Where will he will not rest now. So it even flies in the face of common sense. Because it is a bid'ah and an innovation. We pray, may Allah SWT make them see the light of what we are saying. Can advices be taken from somebody who does bid'ah? Well, I will first ask, how do you know the person is doing bid'ah? Because at times, young people are overzealous in declaring things to be bid'ah. And there are a lot of Islam say, this is a bid'ah. I say, no, it is not bid'ah. Let me give an example. I think last year, the issue of camping programs came, people discussed it, and then people were saying that camping programs were in themselves bid'ah. And I was very surprised. I said, no scholar I know of has ever said a camping programs are bid'ahs. And then I saw the response from some, and I was shocked that it seems we don't understand even some of those things we call bid'ah. What the scholars would say is that we are interested in what is being done at such camping programs. Not that just where camping becomes bid'ah in itself. So we must understand what bid'ah is before we say, okay, if the person is doing bid'ah, can we listen to that person? So I will put it this way. Somebody that the scholars have declared an innovator, we will not take advices from such a person. Because he will send us astray. And even if he gives us sound advices, the day he was going to slot in the bad ones, we never realize. Water is very weak. But if water continues to fall on a rock, gradually, over a long time, water breaks down that rock. That's what is called weathering in geography. As weak as water is, if it continuously falls on a rock, it will break that rock at the end of the day. So in spite of how strong our iman is, if you listen to somebody who spouts bid'ah like Jabata, a lot of students from the University of Ilorin listen to him because the man is like a comedian. So you listen and you laugh. So the early scholars used to discourage it because when you are laughing at it, you will not know when that thing gets into your own heart. That one is essentially better than Jabata because he knows he's a comedian. No, he's a comedian. So, but this Jabata is a worse person. He's looking for money. So, may Allah protect us. Saying as-salatu khayrun minan nawm, well, the scholars differ about when to say it. Some say there should be the first adhan said. That's when it's time for Fajr. That's the position of people like Sheikh Al-Albani and so on and so forth. The majority of the scholars are of the opinion that it should be in the second adhan. As-salatu, that is very common. I'm very sorry. I tend towards the opinion of those who say it should be in the second adhan. Are you following? But someone decided I won't say my own in the first one too. It's an issue of jurisprudence. We may legitimately differ. We only bring our evidence to see this hadith because I believe that it should be in the second one. So I can't declare somebody who does bid'ah on issues of juristic differences of opinion. Are Shia Muslims? A very important question. You see, reacting to extremism, the tendency to go into extremism is very high. When we want to react to the extremism of the Shia, the tendency to be extreme also is very high. So I will answer that question like this. There are certain beliefs that the Shia have that are kufr. Whoever has them among the Shia is not a Muslim. And let me give some of those evidence, some of those beliefs. They believe that they have 12 imams. Right from Ali ibn Abi Talib, Al-Hassan, Hussein, up to Al-Mahdi Al-Muntazar. So they believe that these 12 imams control the universe. This belief, Khomeini, the founder of Shia Iran, has this belief. He wrote in his book called Al-Hukuma Al-Islamiyya. He said, "Wali aimatina maqamun mahmud." Our imams have a lofty position.